It is the trick of rivers, reflecting at the same time what is beyond us and within us. The Kinnickinnic River of western Wisconsin, better known as the Kinni, is a jewel among rivers. This tributary to the St. Croix runs for 22 miles through farm fields, city neighborhoods, and wildlands, replenished by a watershed of 170 square miles. The Kinni is a Class 1 trout stream with cold, clear waters that support naturally reproducing populations of brown and native brook trout. And its watershed is home to many species of native plants and wildlife, including more than 40 species listed as endangered, threatened, or special concern. Keeping company with the Kinni are lofty white pines, sedge meadows, and oak savanna and prairie, sheer canyon walls fed by seeps and covered in ferns, and a changing palette of wildflowers blooming from spring to fall. There is life in this river corridor, a sense of wholeness in its wooded bluffs and its open spaces and its shady hollows. You can feel it.
The Kinnickinnic River evokes emotions in people that are just unbelievable, because everyone finds something that they love about the Kinni. The Kinni is a place where one can go fishing. The Kinni is a place where one can go hiking and feel the power of a natural system very close to an urban area. The Kinni is a place where landowners can work the land and feel in harmony with nature. What's really exciting to see in this community here is both the urban and the rural population have a passion for the Kinni, and they want to keep it the way it is now, which makes our job a wonderful job.
The nationally accredited Kinnickinnic River Land Trust is based in the city of River Falls, Wisconsin, where it was founded in 1993 by local citizens. Its mission is to work with the community to protect the natural resources and scenic beauty of the Kinnickinnic River watershed.
As a private organization working with individuals, we can be just like another individual sitting in the dining room or the living room talking with you about your interest in protecting the land and how our organization might be able to help you accomplish your goals through the tools that we can bring to the table.
People come to the Land Trust because they care about the future of their land and they want to know what their options might be. Some landowners want their property to become a park or preserve. Others want to protect their land with a conservation easement that will permanently limit its development.
The organization is known not only by what we do and say about ourselves, but importantly through what landowners and others that we've worked with can say about us. Because it's, at the end of the day, it's how we've worked with people to accomplish their goals and our goals, which are mutual, that we come to be known.
I can't say enough good things about the Land Trust. They have provided an opportunity to do something that we probably on our own would not have been able to do. Having our farm protected and contributing to protecting the Kinni was, ethically, it was an important thing to be doing. It was just, again, reflects your philosophy of life, I think.
Feel good about the transaction. It's we've become good stewards of the land, and hopefully we're passing it on for future generations to use. So it's a good feeling.
We had an excellent attorney that helped us along. The Land Trust would give us the information, and he would fine-tune it for us.
We had our own vision on pretty much how we wanted to set this up. A lot of people do misinterpret what it's all about. You work with them and they'll work with you to work something out, and that way you can keep this land in agriculture where a lot of this good land belongs, because we got a lot of poor land we could be building on in places. I do know that.
It's important to note that these are voluntary, willing agreements and partnerships between us and the individuals involved or the corporations involved. This is very much a two-way street, not a one-way street. Each acquisition or purchase of an interest in property is negotiated with the individuals involved, and no two have been alike to date.
Already, the Land Trust has worked with willing landowners to permanently protect 2,300 acres within the watershed, including more than 8 miles of shoreline. And there are many more projects in the works.
We do get things done. We are a lean and not mean, but friendly operation, and we encourage everyone to join with us to help protect this wonderful place.
I was 3.5 years old when we moved down to the home farm down here. But we lived just over here across the way here, just a little ways before we moved here. The people that lived here, we used to help quite a bit off and on. They were an older couple, and I don't know why, but I always liked this place. And I'd tell myself, I never told anybody that I was going to own this farm someday. And it come true, which was pretty great.
When Lyle and I met, I was still in high school. I was not a farm girl. I was raised in town. But as I look back at my childhood, my best fun was when I was with my friends who were out in the country. So it isn't strange, I guess, that I am here.
The land that we run is good soil, good land. And the other part where we don't run is probably the best land. not too dollar productive, but for wildlife and people in general, it's probably the best part of it.
The whole farm is kind of always centered around the river one way or another. The river's always been a large part of the farm. We like taking our grandkids down. Their joy brings joy to us. When we started planning our estate, our attorney said to Lyle, Lyle, how do you envision your property after you are deceased? And Roberta, you. And of course, we were miles apart. Lyle saying, I want it to be just the way it is today. I don't want housing. And I said, well, you know, after we're gone, we probably won't have any choice, and maybe our children will develop it. We didn't know. We'd never talked to our kids about it. So on the way home from that visit, Lyle said, you know, maybe we should be thinking about the land trust. You know, maybe they could help us decide what might be right for us. And at first we thought about preserving just the canyon down there, just the river. And then the more we talked and the more we learned, one day Dad said, well, why wouldn't we just put the whole thing in? You know, we don't want them building any houses up around the farm, you know, the homestead here. And he certainly wouldn't want asphalt poured on any of his good cropland. So then we visited with the people at the Land Trust about putting the whole farm in. It actually did take us about 3 years negotiating with the Land Trust. And as days go on, I know that Dad and I know that we have done the right thing.
Look at that fish we got coming in. Look at here. Ellie, look at
Farming is really a philosophy of life, that love of the land and planting a crop and harvesting it and the smell of the soil and watching the crop grow and hoping you have enough rain so the crop will grow, and it's a profession certainly, but it really is a philosophy of life and a way of life that I find really hard to describe, but it's kind of in your soul. The crops are corn, soybeans, alfalfa, hay, some oats, and several years Jerry raised sunflowers when our youngest son Olaf was farming with Jerry. We always chuckled about probably causing traffic jams with persons pulling over on the side of the road and taking pictures of that incredible yellow of a sunflower bloom. With the terrain that we have, having contours, having terraces put in, having grass waterways, it's essential for doing that in order to protect the soil. Jerry definitely deserves the credit on that because he made the farming decisions, but his father set an example. I mean, bottom line, you need to be protecting that soil for raising the best crop that you can, since this is a business, but it also is a part of the watershed and protecting the Kinnickinnic from as much pollution as possible. We both had felt really strongly about protecting the farmland long before we heard about easements. There was and has been really growing pressure on farms being sold for development. And of course, we're suburbia St. Paul here. I mean, our radius from St. Paul really put the pressure on that development. So we were well aware and had been approached for as long as I can remember, approached by one developer in particular, but being always approached about selling land for development. And so the PDR, that purchase of development rights, really resolved that. We then did what we wanted to do, which was protect the farm. We did not have to put that burden on our children, and it met a financial need that we did need. Without the Land Trust and their awareness and knowledge of different programs, for instance, the stewardship funds and the purchase of development right opportunities. Yes, we've heard those phrases, but to actually make it a working program or working option, we never would have been able to do that without them, I don't think. Yeah, so I'm very grateful for them. I mean, I look at this as, it's a gift, really, a gift that we are able to have property like this and have been able to be here for 5 generations. And so it's just a logical thing to be doing. Kind of an obligation in a sense as well. I think we have an obligation to be good stewards of the land.
If I didn't have anything to do, it'd really be nice to come down here and just sit and listen to the river, is what it amounts to me. It's just sort of a pretty area. There's no doubt about it, regardless if you're down on the river or up on the top of the bluff. I guess when I got out of high school, I thought of driving semi over the road for a little while, but never got into that. I just stayed home farming, worked for Dad, and ended up getting married and bought into the business, and here I am. My wife gave birth to 11 kids, 7 boys and 4 girls. She enjoyed life and she enjoyed the land. I know that very much. She was supportive of protecting the land, yeah, definitely. Yeah, if she would have been here, it would have been For certain, she would have been in favor of it. In fact, we've started talking about it before she had left us. So I just talked to different people that have done a conservation easement, and that's how I sort of got going. They said it was a good deal, and I think it's a real good deal. Yeah, I've had a guy hunting deer with me years and years ago. He told me if I ever decide to sell this spot, he said, make sure you call me. And it was one of my favorite spots that it would have been just ideal for a home, you know. But so there'll never be one there now, I guess. So hopefully not. I hope it'll stay in the family until at least we get our 100 years in. So, and I'm sure it will now, especially. Talk with my family is the main thing. You know, I got a big family, and I got them involved because I didn't want to make the decision myself. If they wanted to sell it for development, then we probably would have sold it, but none of them wanted to. They wanted to keep it the way it was, so thought it was the best route to go. I'm all for it. Why not? Preserve the land. You know, I just feel that people are honest enough that it will be forever, you know. That my grandkids and their grandkids and whoever, if they want to come down to the Kinni, they'll be able to come down to Kinni.
We have a shared philosophy about the stewardship of the land.
We both grew up in farms in Iowa, and here we are back on farmland, the open spaces. How fortunate we are to be out here. This was bare land, you know, in '87 when we bought it. It was bare land. Everything that's basically out there, Beck and I have had our hands on. We've worked with the ponds, we've been involved with every tree and grass planted here.
As the years went by, we started putting acreage into the Conservation Reserve Program, and eventually we had the whole farm in Conservation Reserve programs.
There's a lot of wildlife around because of the water, the different seeds to eat and so forth, that we didn't see that before. Before we've seen muddy fields and ruts.
In the few years that we have lived here, we have seen enormous development coming towards us from the metro area. And that trend, I believe, really spurred us into some urgency to get this land preserved for the public forever. So the Kinni people put together this amazing coalition of partners and found enough funds for us to complete the bargain sale. And we couldn't be happier about it.
It's planned that this will be called the Nago Wildlife Management Area, and which is pleasing to us. That like I've said before, that you know, yes, we've put a lot of work into it, but it doesn't seem like work. It's been fun.
I think our really long-term vision would be that it's got to be more than a place where people just come to walk through. I think that there is a wonderful opportunity here for learning and for education. It would change lives. It would change lives.
There's the frogs, for example. How many different types of frogs are out here? Study that out, you know. And we have a long list of species that we have seen out here, but I know a true birder and so forth, which we are not professional birders, could really identify more birds, because there are just a tremendous amount of little birds out here. We hear the most beautiful sounds. All you got to do is look up on the top of a tree, and there's some male bird trying to show off to get some attention.
It sounded like somebody whistling at me, you know, the usual wolf call whistle. And I thought, what's that? And then I thought, oh, I listen again, and it's Bob, Bob, what? Bob, Bob, White? That's a bobwhite. How impossible is that? And we hear them around the house by our yard quite a bit. And their call is just so loud and clear and unmistakable. It just rings. It just rings.
I think a lot about my dad now. My dad, Otto Nagel, was a good keeper of the land. We've done our part of the bargain sale in memory of Otto Nagel, and that's a good feeling.